the legends, those who paved our way. In every single chapter, we're here to stay, breaking down plays.
Hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday afternoon. This is the Chasing the Holidays podcast. My name is Lonnie Washington, along with Tony Robinson. I'm in Arizona, and he is in Texas. Tony, how's everything going?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, man. Since our last podcast last week, we had a lot going on, with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Knicks. And then, of course, we found out how that series went. It's been a rough week if you're a Cavs fan, no doubt. Definitely for sure. And I know I get it. I get it. I understand it. I mean, you guys ran into a buzzsaw Knicks team. I don't think you guys are prepared for, and it was quite pretty embarrassing actually. If you're a fan, if the Knicks play, the Cavs players should be embarrassed, quite frankly, the way everything went down. I mean, there's no way you can be a competitor and think that is acceptable way to be in a conference finals to get swept the way you did. You give up a 22-point lead, of course, in the first game, which that was the best thing you had going for you. The last 7.5 minutes of that ball game, you had a 22-point lead, and then all of a sudden the storm hits. Right, this Knicks blue wave or orange wave, whatever you want to call it, hit, and it was quite crazy. And I know, Tony, you were kind of like before all that, you were saying, I told you we were a bad matchup for the Knicks, and you started going into the little thing, and I says, yeah, man, I agree. I mean, who wouldn't have thought? If you turned that game off, you figured at 7.5 minutes left, they had like a 98% chance to win that game, that the Cavaliers did, and then next thing you know, you wake up in the morning, you see the headline, and it was bad. The fallout just kept on tidal waving like a tsunami from game one on until the last game of the series. And I know it was pretty bad, but Tony, we'll start off with this. And I know it's hard to talk about, but this is our business, buddy. This is what we do. And so we got to talk about it, whether it was good, bad, or ugly or whatever. But it was pretty ugly. But I'm not even quite sure how you're going to sum this up and talk about the failures of the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers' failure to win game one game against the Knicks. I'll give it to you at this point because, man, I got a lot to say about it.
I mean, it's really nothing for me to say. I mean, I said that, they don't match up well against us, and the Knicks said, okay, we'll show you that. They pretty much came out and busted us in the mouth. I mean, we started off busting them in the mouth, right? We were up by the 22 or whatever, like you said. But from there, it's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the fatigue from the two previous series or whatever, going 7 in both of those series, I don't know if that caught up with the older, like ailing bodies, I guess they have them on their team. But I don't know. Harden didn't show up anymore. It's just like it's nothing for me to say. I had the Cavs winning, obviously, because I'm biased to my team. But the New York, hats off to the New York Knicks. They came in there and whooped our butt. Put belt to butt or belt to ass, how you want to say it?
Yeah, it was belt to ass.
They legitimately put that belt to ass. So it's like I'm very disappointed because we, like I said during the season, like obviously the players we have are good in-season players and stuff like that. But when the playoffs hit, they can't. They made it past the second round for Donovan Mitchell, so that's a plus. That's what they keep saying. It's like making it past the second round is big for their franchise right now with Donovan Mitchell on it. But for me, I guess we can table the LeBron thing for the next time.
Yeah, we got some stuff.
But we need somebody that's a dog that's going to push. Like, because they just fell apart. They don't have anybody because they don't have history of winning, so they don't understand. I mean, they're pro athletes. They're great players. Don't get me wrong. Donovan Mitchell, all those guys are great players. But it's just like when it comes to these kind of moments, they kind of disappear. And it's like it's so obvious. It was almost like they gave up. So, and that's what as a fan, it pisses me off because I'm like, you getting paid all this money to like just give up like that, or like don't no fight or whatever. Mitchell got his points, but it didn't, it showed that they all were disconnected or whatever. But anyway, there's a lot to say to that, but I'm gonna let you chime in so I can like piggyback off of what you got to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you were going to have a lid on the conversation because this was something you want to get past, right? You know, sometimes hard things you don't want to talk about, you want to get past it. But my friend, you're not going to get off that easy because, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I know we talked about a lot yesterday and everything, and you posted your stuff on TikTok and all this, but this is our show. This is Chasing the Highlights platform here, and we real. And, you know, we go we go through a lot with our teams, whether it's the Commanders on my side or whether it's the Browns on your side, but the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know, they kind of gave some hope to, you know, you're talking about a city that's really prideful, right? And a city that really loved their sports. And, you know, the Cleveland Browns have been an utter embarrassment, okay, over the course of 30 some odd years. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, they get the championship in 2016 with LeBron James. And this was something that you guys thought that you had a chance and hope. And I asked you, I think last week, Tony, what would symbolize a winning season for you guys? I mean, is it to the point where you guys got to this, the conference finals to where you said that, hey, you know what? This is a winning season for us. We can't be mad. But I mean, but when you go out the way you went out, I mean, I see if this series went to 6 games or something like that. So are you still saying as a fan and just being unbiased totally, are you saying that, all right, we made it to the conference finals, we're going to hang our hat on that, and it don't matter if we got blew out, we still had a successful season?
No, like I said before, like I told you on our previous podcast, I said it's championship or bust. But when you bring a Harden in, you can't the mindset of in the playoffs at this point we're having a Harden, especially when you're trying to, you know, give him a contract extension and stuff like that. You can't, at this point, you cannot just think about, you can't be happy with just going to the finals, Eastern Conference Finals. You got to go to the actual big dance or like winning the big dance, because you can't bring a older player, because Harden is getting older, a little longer, you know, longer in the tooth. I mean, his I don't think his workout regimen is like LeBron James. I mean, because I mean, not throwing shade at him, but it's like he's not a LeBron James. That's why LeBron James is still considered one of the top, because he still, even though he don't play a full season, that's not what it's about. It's about what can you do in the playoffs. He's always available, no matter what it is. And then you got Luka and all those guys that aren't available all the time. These younger guys, they don't take care of their body like LeBron James has done all these years. But when it comes to James Harden, you have to be winning. You can't. I mean, I guess this is a plus that we got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I can't be mad, but this is a step in the right direction, I guess, if you want to say it. But I still wanted to see more because of it's the way they lost. That's what I wanted to see, more than just that. I want to at least get a gentleman's sweep, like we talked about yesterday, like you said yesterday. Get a gentleman's sweep or something. Like, don't just bow out like that, you know, after being up 22 in the first, in the first game. So it's like, it's just disheartening for Cavs fans all over the world or wherever they are. So it's like it's just tough, man. Like, well,
maybe the Guardians will help you guys out as a team in the city that can possibly do something this year. I'm not quite sure. I don't even know their record, but you know, you got 3 teams over there. You know, somebody's got to do something. But
we loyal no matter what. That's the bane of my existence. I'm still loyal since birth. I was a Cleveland fan all through and through. No matter what it was, we've been through all the ups and downs. I'm always gonna be a fan. So I can say whatever I want about, like, you know, being pissed off or whatever, but we still gonna be there.
Yeah, you know, you start talking about James Harden here. I mean, everybody thought that he was kind of like the savior, that extra piece that y'all need in your backcourt, that little that energy. But you know, he's had a history of, and in the playoffs, you know, dying down, and like you kind of alluded to, you know, whether he has a regimen or if he's tired, in shape, or whatever he needs to do. But Harden is a 17-year vet. He's been around a long time, and he should know how to take care of his body. And of course, you know, he's getting up there in age, but just to give you a couple of figures here about James Harden in this series in the conference finals against the Knicks, you know, he averaged 16 points a game, 4.8 rebounds, 3 assists per game, while shooting 38% from the field and only 17.9% from the three-point line. Now, you tell me a guy that's making the kind of money that James Harden is making and the kind of he has a player option for $42 million for next year, and then they talking about even extending him beyond that, giving him a long range extension. From what I heard, was kind of already negotiated prior to him coming to the Cavaliers. That was negotiated ahead of time. Without seeing this guy even playing in the playoffs, because I'm sure if you guys would have saw this James Harden play in the playoffs, you guys wouldn't even be talking about extending him beyond 2027. And instead, he's got a $42 million player option. This is going to lock you guys. You guys got one of the highest payrolls in the league, right? And then when you see the missing pieces that you need, you're going to give James Harden $42 million and potentially give him a sense on 18% three-point shooting in this. And then he was not good at all. He was a total dumpster fire on defense. And, with a smaller guard, Brunson, I know Brunson is a beast, but come on, this guy puts you in the blender every time that you guarded him. And this was just a crazy outcome that nobody saw really coming. I don't even think the Knicks fans saw this coming the way it came. But Harden now, he's got this thing on him now with the playoffs, and it didn't get better. It got worse this year, and he's only getting older. How can you, if you're a Cavs fan, be happy about the player option and then potentially extending him beyond 2027?
Well, yeah, the player option was implemented. He wasn't going to come to our team unless he knew that he was going to get extended. So there was like a handshake that we say, okay, yeah, we're going to extend you, whatever it was. But for me, I feel like we paying this $42 million for the season only. Think about that, right? We're only paying for his season accolades. So he's 28 points a game, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, right? So that's what we're paying for. We're not paying for the postseason because, to me, and I don't want to talk about his money like we talked about before, but for me, you haven't proven in the playoffs to warrant that kind of contract, especially at this age, 37 plus, and not having the regimen of like a LeBron James. I just can't see it. I mean, especially when you're trying to get help to help the roster, he's not going to give up any money, because we know that a lot of these players, they want to get their money, what they feel they're worth and everything like that. But there should be a scale depending on what you do for the playoffs, because playoffs is the most important piece of the NBA season and postseason. Like, you can't just base it off of just a season accolades, because that's what I feel like this contract is based on, because he does well in the season. But when the lights are on, the game gets more physical, they disappear. So it's like, why am I paying you $42 million to pretty much hamstring the whole fucking roster? Excuse my language. I didn't mean to, but but I'm just getting pissed off right now, because when you hamstring the whole roster by doing that. If you're trying to win, you don't take $42 million plus, and like at this late in career, like that if you're trying to win, if the end of the day it's about winning, then what are you doing? What are we doing here? Like LeBron, they said something about LeBron coming to Cleveland. He's not going to take a cut, whatever. But if Giannis comes there and they make some things happen, we think that he'll make a change. But that we can talk about that later. But
do you think Donovan Mitchell gets off the hook? I mean, 27.3 a game in this series, 2.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists. 2.8 steals per game, 50% from the field over a 4-game sweep. Do you think Donovan Mitchell gets off the hook in this whole thing? I mean, because these averages over the 4 games. I mean, he wasn't bad at all, but he didn't have his Robin beside him. He didn't have the bigs playing well. Merrill, who's come in the previous series against the Detroit Pistons, had a great series, 3-point. He couldn't buy a bucket. I mean, and then you look at Strus coming off the bench and all those different things. Those role players were not in this series for some reason. And so, I mean, when you start to look at Donovan Mitchell, do you say, man, Donovan Mitchell, you kind of get off the hook a little bit because you didn't have any help looking at his averages and stuff like that. But it seems like sometimes that even Donovan Mitchell was kind of out there not giving his 100%. And so, what do you think about his play in this series?
Well, I'm not gonna, make any excuses for him because he was doing some things that I mean, he had an okay season when it comes or series when it comes to the points and stuff like that. But he was out there, just defensive wise, he wasn't doing much. But to go back a little bit for talking about the Harden and checking Brunson, right? So when you think about this, right? So we talked about this the other day about how, from my basketball background, knowing that if you have a player that is a scorer, you cannot have him chasing around the other best player's score. No matter what you're trying to do, like you're trying to step up to like guard the best player. That's not your game. Like James Harden was never known as being a defensive player. When he was in Houston, they say Olay defense, all these different things. How all of a sudden he's a defensive stopper? Like you can't put him in that situation and expect him to score. He's checking the best player in the playoffs to me right now, besides Wendy or whatever.
Well, SGA is the best player in the playoffs.
Let's say the East. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's the MVP of the East right now, right? MVP of the Eastern Conference Final. So you cannot put somebody that has never been known for a defensive acumen to check this guy. Like these other guys on the team got to step up, and I feel like that's why Strus and Merrill and those guys kind of didn't get their footing because they were looking for defensive players to play on the court to match the intensity of the Knicks. Mm-hmm. They couldn't match it, and you can't have a Merrill in there trying to, because he's not a defensive. He's a 3-point specialist. That's it. He's not a defensive player either. So they couldn't play him the way they needed to get the points. Because he's going to trade points for just sloppy defense. Yeah, and it's not like, but the people we had in that just goes to show that we don't have a good defense past the two bigs.
Yeah,
that's when you break it all the way down. The bigs are our defense, but
they were weak. They were very weak though. They were very weak this series. Yeah. I was totally shocked on how they got manhandled.
They weren't really. So I wouldn't. Yes, they were. You're right, but when you have to think about Karl Anthony Towns going inside outside, you kind of they're trying to take you away from the inside. They're trying to take the big out because he's trying to space the floor out because they know Cat can hit the three. So if the big is out of the paint, they're gonna drive to you. That's why Brunson's so easily getting to the rack because there's no shot blocker there, and they weren't running the two guards or two centers like they did in the first game. They stopped that for some reason. They did split them up sometime, but in previous series, they had both the bigs playing together, and it worked really good. So, but they just stopped doing it. But defensively, we got to get better, and we got to have somebody. I mean, I know LeBron isn't a defensive player that he was when he was younger, but having that presence there, or having a presence like him, like a Giannis or whatever we're going to get in the offseason, that's what we need. We need somebody that's going to come in, and I don't know if you said it. No, I heard it on NBA radio. We need somebody like the cat from Phoenix, or where is he at? Somebody like a junkyard dog that's going to guard every single best player. It's not worried about scoring. Yeah, we need somebody that can just lock somebody down, so the guy that scored don't have to do it.
Well, Landry Shamet and Mikal Bridges, took over this series. I mean, we knew what Mikal Bridges was before, and he had a horrible April, and he took a lot of heat for being not being himself. But in this series, I mean, he pretty much showed on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. And then you had Landry Shamet coming off the bench, who basically he was a throwaway. I mean, he just somebody, a roster filler that came in for the Knicks. But I tell you what, those two right there to me are kind of like the MVP of that series because of just how they contributed. When you talk about Landry Shamet only missing like a couple of 3-pointers the whole series, I mean, he was just lights out. Everything he put up was just like fire. All right. And so when you have those type of players, which is a role players, I mean, Bridges is more than just a role player now. He's been there now for 2 or 3 years. And he's a really good player on defense. He's an Iron Man. He never misses a game and things of that nature. So you expected something from him, whether he was going to give you 15 points a game and play with lockdown defense. But when he starts averaging 20-plus points a game, and then, of course, Landry Shamet comes in and starts hitting these threes, it was lights out. You guys did not have an answer. And to be honest with you, Brunson only had really one real breakout game, and that's like the first game. The other games, I mean, he was pretty even, averaging about 20 points a game, and more of a distributor. But all those role players for the Knicks came into play. And then I don't think the Cavaliers, they showed a lot of weakness when they're a tough team. We know that the Cavs bigs can play tough. The way they did against Detroit, the way they can Mobley can shoot the three. That was even absent in this series. The lackadaisicalness of getting down the court on fast break, and when you get into game 4 and you about to get swept, and you let the Knicks have 26 fast break points in the first half. That shows that you had your bags packed. You basically told your family, yo, get the bags are packed already. Put the kids on some pajamas because after this game, we're going to ship out to our vacation destination. That's the way they play. They play like the bags packed already.
Gone fishing.
Yeah, they were gone fishing before this game even started. But it showed 13 fast break points in the first quarter, 26 fast break points in the first half showed me right away. And then they lose by 37 points. So that's just no excuse. The Cavs need to be ashamed of themselves for that. And if I was a Cavs fan, I'd be very disappointed. But I don't know how we pay James Harden this kind of money based off of what we now know of this playoff performance that he had. And now the other thing I want to even bring up to you is now, I heard that Coach Atkinson is coming back next season, and just his denial of, talking about analytically, we should be winning the series and all the little things that he said throughout the series is not cool, right? You just got to be real with your players. Players, we got our tails kicked, right? And we need to do something different. I'm not quite sure that I'm excited about how he motivated the team throughout this whole process, because he kept on saying, he didn't even take, he didn't say, yo, it was my bad. In game 1, when that 22-point run with 7.5 minutes left, I had 4 timeouts, and I was going to lose 2 of them at the 3-minute mark, and I never called one timeout to stop this run. All right, I have to bring in the question now. Here's what he did on game 1 to ultimately end up losing this whole series for his team, because I think that after game 1, you guys didn't recover. But a lot of this is on the coach, and I don't think he's acknowledged the fact that I made a lot of mistakes. And he's talking about analytically and all this stuff like that. And you guys are going to bring this guy back next season? I'm not quite sure that I'm cool with that.
I know I'm like, this is all like Sunday morning quarterback off the couch and stuff like that, or like, coaching off the couch. But Kenny Atkinson,
that's what we doing.
That's what they're gonna say. Shut up and like just watch or whatever. Whatever they're gonna say. But as a fan and like people that pay to go there to these games, and I asked my wife, I was like, I wonder what these people are thinking about in the front row, paying $10,000 plus to see this blowout, right? So basically, what bothered me about Coach Kenny Atkinson is that, like we talked about with the James Harden thing, right? With him guarding Brunson, what are y'all thinking about when you got all these you got a few young guys that can actually step up to at least try to slow this guy down? Don't put your best shooters in front of a buzzsaw of a Brunson. Brunson is not the guy to be messed with. I don't know why the Dallas Mavericks let him go because they wanted Luka, and then now they don't have Luka, and I don't have Brunson. So it's like, I don't know what was the better move, but this guy like Kenny Atkinson, I guess we just have to accept it and see what they do in the offseason to better the roster and like what moves they make, because that's gonna be the telling factor, what moves they make in the offseason. Because if they make some BS moves, it's not going to work with this kind of coaching to me. But he coaches well in the season, and I don't know. He was very suspect in his decision making, and like I don't know if he has anybody on his coaching staff that's going to tell him like, dude, like we need to get somebody else on Brunson, because Harden is not a defender, like you're saying. Like, what are you talking about? Because he was saying it like he was, was a good defender. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, everybody can see it. Like, you can't pull a wool over nobody's eyes. Like, what are you thinking? What are you looking at? So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got to say about
Well,
that.
yeah. I mean, another thing is that obviously he's not a good defender, and Coach Atkinson has to bear a lot of that weight of putting him in a position. And he even said so much of, yeah, we know, we basically know, and I'm paraphrasing, and Coach Atkins said, we know that, this is probably not his strong suit. But what I have, the problem I had with Harden is that he never made Brunson work on the other end of the ball, right? He never made him work on the other end of the ball because a certified scorer don't want to really play defense. And they didn't even expose Brunson on the defensive side. Harden shot so terrible in this series, and 18% from the 3-point line. He could have put Brunson in the blender if he wanted to with his shooting, but he was out there shooting bricks and air balls and missing really bad on the 3-point shot. So, he didn't even help him in that category.
For the conspiracy theorists, that's what makes us think the NBA is scripted, because the way he didn't go back at him, like, because that's what he's known for. He's known for getting his bucket, getting the and one, swiping through, doing all the extra things to get to the line, and he wasn't making free throws either. It's like
he wasn't good in the free throw line,
like on purpose. It's like, what are y'all doing out here? Like, y'all not focused.
It was a bad one. It was a bad one all the way around. I mean, and I'm about sick. Okay, about sick about this one. Okay, oh boy, the Cavs fans believe LeBron James can save them again at the age of 42 years old. I mean, me and you went round and round yesterday on this, and you said, well, LeBron can do this, and LeBron can do that. I says, man, LeBron, if he's looking at coming over to the Cavaliers, I mean, I think he's got a better roster in LA, to be honest with you. With a healthy Luka Doncic on his team, I think he's got a better over there. And plus, his tentacles reach out real far in that locker room, right? And so when you're talking about him being able to come over to the Cavs and then save y'all, and you got to remember, he's going into a house already that's dirty. So that house is already dirty. So now, how does he clean up that house in Cleveland if he was to go to the Cavaliers? In other words, he sits down with the Cleveland brass and says, okay, Cleveland, all right, first of all, I'm not taking a pay cut. All right, I ain't taking a pay cut. I'm LeBron James. You guys should be paying me $70 million a year. I want at least 50 million, right? And whatever you got to do to make this work, you make it work. But how do you ask a guy that's 42 years old, hey, come to Cleveland, come back here and save us again and get us another championship? How do you ask that of a LeBron James? Because I think the way this roster is currently constructed, even LeBron James in this Knicks series would not have helped the Cleveland Cavaliers win. Maybe one game, maybe, but he's not winning the series against the Knicks based off of what we saw. And LeBron James ain't coming in with this current team the way it is. You can't add Giannis and LeBron. You'll be talking about just LeBron James moving over as a free agent with the same squad. He's not coming in there going and winning a championship with this squad. What say you, my friend? Because I know you have a lot to say about this.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay. So when it comes to LeBron and coming back to Cleveland, it's all nostalgic, obviously, because we living off 2016, previous years before that, all this stuff, right? But also we are seeing what he's doing at a 41-year-old, all these minutes on his legs, right? And he's been available constantly. He's been a constant this whole all the playoffs that he's played in, right? When you have a guy in Luka on the Lakers that you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if he's going to play a whole season or not. He hasn't played a whole season since the one season that he played and they made it to the finals. That's the only season that he played the whole time that I can recall that's more relevant to winning and taking a franchise to the next level, right? So my thought process is that the way the Lakers are structured, yeah, you got some young pieces around you, but they're already looking at Luka and Reeves as their future. and you're the third option, right? LeBron in the third option was a 27-point scorer
Mm-hmm.
in the third option. So then he plays in the playoffs and he's still doing the same thing. So you're saying that the current LeBron James that we know, that we've seen all this time, couldn't come into this, that he dominated the East before with teams that are better than the Knicks that I've seen, but coming onto this team that, man, with Harden, Mitchell, he's going to bring a different kind of winning energy to them. That's going to transfer. He's going to transfer all that energy to him, to both of those guys, because they don't know how to win. When you bring somebody that knows how to win, that's won before, it changes the entire scope of the whole organization. And the Cavs fans and the Cavs brass know that. They know that. That's why they're talking about bringing him back. They're not just, I don't know. And yeah, if you bring Giannis, the previous, if you restructure the whole organization by trading Mobley to get Giannis, that's a good trade. Everybody, they've been talking about that the whole postseason, about, because they've been playing like trash. So get Mobley to go get Giannis, do a sign and trade with LA to get, give them Jared Allen, because they need a big. And the Cavs want LeBron, sign and trade. So there's different ways to work around the contracts, and he will take a hometown discount, I believe. That's just my opinion. And I'm not saying he's gonna take a substantial cut, but they're gonna figure out a way.
Well, what's a hometown discount to you? I mean, he's 50 million, he's 52 million, 56 million now, right?
Yeah, but they're gonna work it out, because if they have to fill guys in, like some randoms from like the G League and like whatever, some guys that are ready to, because they can do it. I mean, but I don't feel like they're gonna have to gut the team all the way. But I know that they're gonna make room.
You're losing one of your bigs. Mobley's probably gone. But I mean, the guy's only 25 years old, right? Mobley's like 24, 25.
But that's what's going to help us get Giannis. Like that, they're going to use that leverage to get another better player.
You think Giannis? You think LeBron James and Giannis is coming through the building to go to Cleveland? And, the amount of money it's going to cost you guys to keep Harden, Mitchell, Giannis, and LeBron James. I mean, you're talking about you're talking about 4 guys now that you're paying mega dollars to. And Giannis, he's got I want to say he's 50 some odd million next year, and then the year after that he's 60 million. And so I don't really think the numbers math, because you guys are going to go into into the luxury tax, which is it would be worth it if you win a championship. But I don't think that the culture, we talk a lot about chemistry and everything like that. I think bringing LeBron James in don't mess with the chemistry of the James Harden, because LeBron James is going to want more out of James Harden. He's going to want more, but he's going to want more out of James Harden than James R. Harden can give. And I think that's going to butt heads right there. And then this is Donovan Mitchell's team, and you believe that Donovan Mitchell's going to give everything up to go to LeBron James?
But you just saw, even though they lost, you saw how Mitchell and Harden were communicating with each other. Like, it's 2 stars going, like they never like went after each other. They say, okay, they held each other accountable. So they know if you're trying to win as a basketball player at the highest level, and you got a chance to get a LeBron James, if you pass that up, then you're not trying to win. What are we here for? Like, as the organization is trying to win. They're not trying to just make it to the final Eastern Conference Finals. They trying to win the championship. That's the ultimate goal, no matter what anybody says. It comes down to winning the championship. If LeBron puts them in a better situation, if they feel like LeBron puts them in a better situation to win, they're going to do it. No matter there are 8 other teams that were talking about LeBron. It's not just the Cavs. There's other teams that want LeBron too. So for us, because he's coming back to Cleveland, why is that a big deal?
Like, well, because you guys, we're not the only team that wants him. The Cleveland fans have not moved on from LeBron James, and I get it. You guys, he's a hometown guy. He's gave you your first title ever, but you got to remember, LeBron James was 10 years younger then, and looking at the LeBron James now, I don't think that, even though he still can play, why do you guys want to go back into that old girlfriend and bring her back?
Hey, that old
You know,
girlfriend keep
it's
coming
like
back.
baby come back type of thing.
If she keep coming back, we gonna take her.
Well, yeah, but LeBron James ain't that LeBron. It's some baby come back type of stuff. And you know, LeBron James it's crazy, man, the way that you guys believe. You guys, oh, LeBron James is still in the league. He's 42 years old. He's still looking good over there in LA. Let's bring him back over here because he's the answer to our potential second championship when he gave you one. All right, he left you, he came back, he gave you a championship. And I think if he goes back again, it ain't going to end well in Cleveland. I think he just might as well figure out how he can stay in LA and be done.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't look at it like that. I feel like we also look at a point where LeBron comes back to Cleveland to do his final years. I mean, that's the way I look at it because it's like I said, it's nostalgic bringing him back to Cleveland so he can finish out his career. If that's what he wants to do, if he says, I want to go back to Cleveland to cement my legacy in Cleveland to finalize everything, you know, see if there's another shot at this or whatever. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I'm biased because I'm a Cavs fan, but looking from the outside looking in, the script is there. It's like if you go back to Cleveland, win a championship, go out on top. I mean, they made it to the finals. He can dominate the East. No, I mean, I know they got other teams coming back into the fold. Indiana gonna be back, and all these different teams.
Yeah.
There's
exactly
nobody. If LeBron goes, if they figure out a way to bring LeBron back on the East, he's dominating the East again.
Well, he's not going to win a title.
Is the West.
He's not going to win a title. He's not going to win a title because remember, Indiana is still out there. The only reason why Indiana was not a good team this year is because Halliburton was hurt and he didn't play, and they decided to tank to get some draft picks. So now they've got a top draft pick this year. You're going to have Halliburton back. Indiana's going to be back in the mix again. Okay, they're going to be back in the fold again, and they're the team to beat. Remember, Indiana last year took OKC to 7 games, and Halliburton tore his it wasn't his ACL, it was Achilles he tore. So at the end of the day, that's what happened. So and then Boston's going to be back. Okay, you can't expect Jason Tatum, and if they keep that duo together, Brown and Tatum, you can't say that team is not going to be back in the mix again after next season with Tatum having a full year of rest. He came back early, and I think that wasn't really good for him. But I think that you guys are just have these hoop dreams again. In Cleveland, and I guess you guys are trying to hold on to some last piece of hope, and it's like LeBron James is, I'm not quite sure if he's the answer, but you know what, it is what it is. So if he's the answer and y'all believe he's the answer, there's nothing I can say. But you know what, we're going to take about a 30-second break. We'll be right back, and we'll talk about the OKC and the Spurs series. We'll be back in a minute. All right, we are back. My name is Lonnie Washington. This is the Chasing the Highlight podcast. My buddy Tony Robinson here, and we're having a discussion about the NBA conference finals, NBA conference championships right now. We just ended up talking about, bringing LeBron James back and things of that nature, which I thought is not a good idea. And I don't think that makes the Cleveland Browns a championship team. But, who is a championship team? The OKC Thunder, right? OKC take a 3-2 lead with an impressive win in Game 5 last night. And if you guys aren't watching this series, I'm not quite sure what you guys are watching. Even if you're a Cavs fan and your team's not in it no more, you still got to watch this series because I think this is we're probably seeing the conference. This might be the finals game here, series that we're seeing. Before the Knicks come on the scene and play June 3rd for the championship for the finals. So OKC 3-2 lead. Looking at this series, It's been very impressive. You've had guys like McCain coming off the bench starting for the OKC Thunder, and just playing lights out basketball. You're seeing the alien, they call him Victor Wembanyama, and he's had his great games, right? But it seems like this is just like a heavyweight fight, like Ali Frazier, just like this one punch after another. What team's going to be standing? And this could bode well for the Knicks, who will have over a week of rest. Because they took care of business early against the Cavs and with the sweep. So are any of these teams going to have anything left when they actually get to the finals? That's the biggest question. And the other thing is that in this series, right now, who do you think is going to win this series? We've got the best of three, and round one was last night, and OKC took out the Spurs, and Wembanyama didn't have a good game. He's still a young player, but they're putting a lot of physicality on him. They're making him shoot from the outside. He's been dismal from the three-point line, last night. But he's pretty solid. I mean, Victor Wembanyama has been averaging 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and almost 3 block shots a game, including that 41-point outburst, in game one, and 24 rebounds in game one. And so I'm not quite sure what to make of this series, but I know right now that OKC have a chance to put out the Spurs and get a little rest before the series starts, and with the Knicks if they win. But if this goes 7 games, it's a toss-up of who's going to win the finals, because now both of these teams are going to be on limited rest.
Yeah, I mean, I had the Spurs on Cal sheet still, like I told you before, going to the finals. I had the Cavs too, and that didn't work out. But when you look at this, both teams, the average age of both teams is 24 or 25. So I don't feel like if they go 7, they'll still be good for the next series, even though they're getting rest. I feel like they're still young. They don't have a lot of minutes on their body, so they'll be ready. But when it comes to Wembanyama, I feel like they're packing it in like they used to do LeBron, like the Spurs back in the day used to do LeBron. They used to pack it into the paint where he couldn't easily drive and stuff like that. So they always have like 1 or 2 guys hitting him or like doing something to him or whatever. And it's just when you think about it like that, they're trying to force him to shoot more threes. That's why he went 0 for 5, right? He didn't make it because he's physically beat up, and he doesn't have maybe he doesn't have the legs right now because he's just getting beat up constantly on every single play. They're making sure they have a body on him every single time, making sure he's always touched, because he seemed like he doesn't like the physicality. He doesn't like to be touched a lot, so he gets very frustrated. They're trying to they grinding his gears and stuff like that, and that's the kind of game I used to play. I used to like get in their head. I wouldn't say nothing. I would have like I wouldn't say anything. I would just do little things to like throw them off and stuff like that. And that's what I feel like they're doing with him, because he's starting to get a lot. He's getting frustrated, and you saw that he sent McCain. He elbowed old boy in the neck. What's his name?
Wait, last night?
Last night he elbowed one of the players, Harper, in the throat.
Yeah,
and he's when Wembanyama whispered in Bismack Biyompo's ear, he was like, he hit him in the throat pretty much, and Bismack, they went out and like
before you mean after the game was determined and they came in the game and he was going out for the last time, and he whispered something in there, and then the hard fouls and stuff came.
Yeah, the Goon Squad went out, and Plumlee actually laid wood on his rib, just came in and like on the screen, just take that, like don't hit my young guy in the throat again, and he gonna learn that lesson. So,
well, they got to get him out the game in that perspective. They got to get him out the game, and you can't keep that guy in the game. You got hit, knocked down, and everything. So, and then the game was already won. You got to get your guys out the game so they can get through this series and also through the finals if you happen to get through this finals. But this has been a real fascinating series, and I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, everybody's talking about his flopping and this and that. This guy's a really good ball player. He's 2-time MVP, the current and reigning MVP this year. 26.5 points in this series, almost 10 assists. 3 rebounds, 2 steals per game across the first 5 games of this series. He's only shooting 38.6% of this from the field, though. He averages over 50% from the field, but he's 96% from the free throw line. All right, that's been his bread and butter. He gets to the free throw line, gets him going. He had 32 points last night. So now, you have a guy that's the reigning MVP. You've done everything to keep this guy from shooting. That's why his percentage is down. You're double teaming him. You're knocking him around. He's got to, go through screens and you're playing him really hard. But then it's the others, right? You got the others showing up, and then McCain coming in and doing the things that he can do. You got you got a Chet sighting every once in a while here and there. You got a little bit of everybody just coming in and playing really, really good, hitting timely threes. And it's just been amazing to see how this team is just so resilient. And then they bring another player off the bench, one after another. The second team can come in and beat you, just like the other night. They had 76 bench points. Basically, they had the bench plus Shea Gillis out of SGA together beat the Spurs. And so when you start to see that, you start to say, man, the second team came in and beat 76 bench points is unheard of in a final in this type of playoff game. And so it's been amazing to see them and the way that they can beat you in many, many ways. But I think they got to take the Spurs out in Game 6 and not give them life to go to a Game 7, because we know anything can happen in a one and done.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game tomorrow night. It's going to be knockout, drag out kind of game. I feel like Wemby going to hit Wemby got to get like 40. He got to get 40 and assist and like doing other things, rebounding and stuff like that, like he did the first game. When he had 40, it was like 40 something and 24. Yeah. Yeah.
It's got to be. Who what's his name? The other guy for OKC, defensive guy, played for the Lakers, got a championship. What's his name? The ball head. I'm like
Caruso.
Caruso. Yeah. I think Caruso, man, could be the MVP of this series. I mean, he's just coming in, knocking down timely threes. His defense is incredible. He's been beating up on Wemby too. A smaller guy that can play defense. You saw him do this against Jokic also, with playing a tough defense with a smaller guy, and he's making him work for every little thing. But Caruso coming off the bench has been just nothing but phenomenal. He's had a couple of games in this series as kind of when he didn't shoot well, but he's playing defense. He's creating steals. He's playing very good basketball. And then, he's that veteran leader that now that's got 2 championships, and he's that vet that they look to when they need a spark. When Alex Caruso comes into the game, things start happening positively for the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, Caruso stepped up with Williams being out with injury still, and it's like and other guys getting hurt. Like he's been the constant. He's like we talked about this before. He's like the heartbeat of the team. That nobody really talks about. Because he's the vet. He's been there, done that with the Lakers, and he's played with Kobe and LeBron. So he's been around for a while. So he's seen a lot of different ways of how the team should be ran. So that's why I say he's the heartbeat of the team. Like, because he's got all these young guys playing around him, and he's in their ear, like, let's get this going, stuff like that. So, I feel like he is that guy, but they gonna give it to Shea. They ain't gonna give it to him,
Yeah, they will. I mean, he's averaging 26 a game, even though that they've been trying to keep him down and double teaming him and doing everything. But he's that guy that needs to be the one to really make things go for the OKC Thunder, and he has. And so I'm very impressed. Even with the hard defense that they've been playing on him, he's still making sure that he maintains his average. And then from the foul line, if he gets to the foul line, call it a flop or whatever you want to call it. He's getting to the foul line. He's making plays for his team, and they're up 3-2. We'll see how it turns out. But the other thing is that we're talking about the Knicks a little bit here, but can the Knicks win it all, regardless of who they play, OKC or the Spurs? And my little take on that is that I'm not quite sure if they can win it all. But it's one of those things that, we see that, I'm not sure if they can win it all. When you start looking at just how tough the conferences are, and I think a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? the Knicks have done everything they need to do to get to where they are now to get into the finals. But when you start looking at the East, I think the East is a lot weaker than the West. Just from a standpoint of just how they get there now, the Boston Celtics in Indiana has been the Knicks' kryptonite, and they didn't have to go through Boston to play Boston. They got knocked out by the 76ers team that was, to be honest with you, it was a surprise for them to win that. And then, I just think that overall that I'm not quite. If the Knicks play the Spurs, they have a better chance to win because remember they did win the cup, the midseason championship against the Spurs in the championship game, right, in Vegas, I believe this year. They did beat the Spurs, right, and I think they're 1-1 against the Spurs this season, and but they haven't beat OKC this season. OKC is 2-0 against the Knicks. OKC has too much depth, and I just think that championship gridiron thing it does mean something. When you're a championship team, you've been through the grind last year with Indiana, then you come back this year, you have a level of pride, you have youth, you have the reigning and the current and reigning MVP of the league. I think they're going to give a lot of trouble to the Knicks, and I think that if OKC wins, they beat the Knicks in 6. And I think, but if the Spurs win and they play the Knicks, I think the Knicks beat the Spurs in 6.
They beat the Knicks.
The Spurs will beat the Knicks.
Yeah,
the Spurs will beat the Knicks in 6.
Yeah.
I don't think
OKC is built. OKC is built to beat the Knicks too. Like
sorry about that. Let me correct the record for a minute. Let me correct the record. I think the Knicks can beat the Spurs in 6, not the Spurs beat the Knicks in 6. But I think OKC can beat the Knicks in 6. But I think the only chance that the Knicks have to win the title is going to play the Spurs.
Well, it also depends on if the Spurs get there. If they beat OKC, they're gonna be on a high. Like I don't know. That's gonna be hard to say because if they beat OKC, they're gonna come out on fire, like trying to knock the Knicks out. But you know how the Knicks are, they're resting right now. They've been setting themselves up this whole playoffs, taking care of business. Every series they took care of business within 5 or whatever was it? Like they haven't lost a game in the whole month of May, so they got 2 sweeps. So 2 sweeps, yeah. So like dealing with that, like I don't know if they can get rusty ever because I mean they've been doing it this whole time and like just every series just coming in and like ready and healed up and everything, whatever injuries they have and whatever, just rested. I don't know what kind of Knicks team you're gonna get against any of these 2 teams. Like, I don't know because these guys are still playing, but I mean I don't know.
Are you ready to make a prediction right now that who you believe that the Knicks can beat? I mean, do you think the Knicks can beat either one of these 2 teams?
I don't think the Knicks can beat any of them because you need Cat to play ball. Like if Cat play, the playoffs is different than the midseason tournament. So when you get a Spurs team that they got that in the back of their mind, they lost to the Knicks in the midseason tournament. They're gonna come out a different team. Like,
and these 2 teams play defense too.
Yeah,
You're not gonna have no free open shots. You're not gonna have the free fast breaks and all this stuff going on. These teams play defense, and OKC is probably the number 1 defensive team in the whole NBA.
Yeah, and Cat, everything hinges on what Carl Anthony Towns does. If he doesn't play well, they're done. Because even though Brunson's been doing his thing, he still needs that dominant big doing his thing inside, outside, rim protecting and different things like that. I don't know. That's a hard. I would say both of these teams would beat the Knicks. That's my prediction, but.
Oh yeah, I think that it's possible that anything's possible. But I think if OKC gets there again, they'll repeat and they'll beat the Knicks. They'll figure out a way, and whether it goes 7 games or not, they'll figure out a way to beat the Knicks. But I think that if the Knicks play the Spurs, a younger team, and I think that if they play the Spurs, that the Knicks will be the champions. And so I think everybody needs to hope and pray that they play the Spurs. But the Spurs is real streaky, and you got that alien. Now, how do you stop Wemby? It's hard to stop him. We're starting to see him wear down a little bit now in this series, but boy, I just think that I'll be happy for the Knicks if the Knicks can pull out a finals championship against any of these teams. I don't think it's going to happen, especially if they play OKC. I think OKC just has too much for them. So that's kind of how I'll leave it here on this podcast.
Yeah.
Anything else we got to talk about, man? Did we forget anything today?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it.
It's pretty much it. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for everybody who chimed in. I saw some comments coming in and things of that nature. So thank everybody. This has been the Chasing the Highlights podcast. My name is Lonnie Washington, along with Tony Robinson. See you guys next week. Peace.
Come alive, 2X players in the studio, ready to thrive. Friends and fans, uniting with the truth, sharing the passion, yeah, that's our proof. Chasing the highlights, where dreams come alive. 2X players in the studio, ready to thrive. Friends and fans, united with the truth, sharing the passion, yeah, that's our proof. We treasure the legends, those who paved our way in every